For one being a representing a man for Uptown TV. You understand?
For the greater Israel. Russia has stepped aside. Iran has stepped aside. And they've sacrificed Assad. Not that Assad is any saint. And Israel has moved in. So you're going to see the greater Israel in that region in a while. Have you had a chance, Muta, to look at we're going to talk about the Integrity Commission report in the program this afternoon. Have you had a chance to...
No. I was so busy as well going in America. That's what I'm so busy with Trump and friend that.
Yes.
That tell you what, it is like an addiction now today.
Yes. Trump, it's interesting. And you mentioned that this 39 presidential pardons and 1,500 commutation of sentences.
Including his son.
Yes.
And his son to him pardon. That give them impetus now to say, all right, well, if him pardon them people there, we're going to pardon the whole of the oxygen. According to them to the message.
But have you heard what he said? Donald Trump, he said, I think it was earlier today, he actually said that, listen, January, it's going to be soon in January 20. He said January 21, 9 minutes into in presidential chair, he's going to initiate the pardon of the January 6th. He says 9 minutes into that.
Yeah, and count them. And I'm also about bring up what's your name there? Where the lady that we go join what's your name again?
Go join what?
Liz Cheney daughter.
Oh, Liz Cheney.
Yes, she and oh gosh, I can't remember the woman name.
Well, Hillary Clinton.
Pelosi.
Well, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Liz Cheney, Bill Clinton, Mr. Fauci. Remember Fauci?
Yeah.
These are people who are literally now shaking in their boots, and I think they are. You hear Bill Clinton on the sideline already saying that he doesn't want to impact what Donald Trump is doing, but if Biden wants to talk to him, he'll have the conversation in terms of whether or not Biden should if him don't pardon Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, they might pre-do the thing them now.
Yes.
Biden have pre-do the thing. But to say the problem with it, is that it's going to turn America upside down. A whole heap of the things them when say I'm going to do next month. As a whole heap of things that will happen separately and apart from. I don't think people are going to stand up and take it them here.
But Biden do a lot of things too against the Republican.
But even when him say, well, not him say it, but the man when I put in charge of the bar, them say, them are going to the hospital, them, the churches and the school, them, and take out non-immigrants.
Okay, yes.
And take them out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
One wonders, Muta, if this can really happen in the way that they're saying that they're planning to do it. I think it still has to be. Because remember,
it can't happen so, but right. They say, watch out, him named Donald Trump.
And they tried it before by putting so many children in
it can't happen on other people, Donald Trump, it will happen on that. Because him have the people criminal, he might elect a theme party.
But they're not more criminal than what Biden did have in a theme party. Are the same criminal them? A lot of them are criminal.
No, I know the same criminal them.
Muta are the same criminals.
No.
Yes, Muta.
What's name? They're no criminal.
Who?
The vice president.
Well,
vice president will run. Shut up, criminal. Should never get charged.
So saying that somebody worse than Hitler, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but I know she first said,
But she also said it.
Yes, the people, they head soldier, them and people, them military people, them. And they come out of that.
She's certainly no saint if you look at even her record as a prosecutor. And
so you don't think they might behave like a fascist?
The whole of them are behave like a fascist?
No.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Muta, who?
The whole of them not behave like a fascist.
Muta, who militarized Africa? Who militarized Africa?
America and Russia.
America under the Democrats.
Yes.
More than both sides do it, but the Democrats step it up more than anybody else. And that is just the bottom line. I mean, they're no better than the Republicans. Them just manage to sell it to the people as if they are, and it's a dangerous way for our people to see things, because when it comes to us as a people, whether we're in the Caribbean or continental Africa, their foreign policy remains the very same.
For Africa, yes, but when I say not about an internal thing, no, you know. When I talk about the foreign policy is no different from what Biden did that though.
Right.
But we don't know the foreign policy yet, but I assume that the same foreign policy he might have. But I know outside me I talk about, you know, inside America.
Yes, but
the visual and even the understanding when we get,
yes,
the people them were elect as this and that in a party. They are deemed to be, it's either they are accused of or them charged, which including him.
I know,
it's criminal.
Well, he definitely has been charged, tried, and found guilty, but others haven't been charged. There are investigations. They haven't been tried. Hillary Clinton, who ran for president, was just as criminal as Trump. If you want to look at it, Biden did the very same thing. The thing that Trump was charged for. I'm talking about the documents. And Muta, you know, so we have to take the break. So I'm going to make you wrap up and then may you have this conversation. But safe journeys. Safe travels.
Oh, no, I'm not traveling. I'm just coming in my room.
He just coming in your room. All right, so you want me to take the break and come back?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
I told me just to go watch.
Well, no, we can't talk about you. Hold on. Brought to you by New Energy. New Energy by Gatorade. Start at the top. Mutabaruka is online. I'm Kabu. I'm sitting in for Muta. It's just
You're not look here. I want to welcome to the club.
Yeah, and I want to say to you, I'm very happy that you're at the other end experiencing what others experience.
I want to tell you that you are experiencing what I experience every week.
I know. Yes, I know.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about. What an experience this is for us.
I tell you.
All right. And just before we went into the break, I was saying to you that Biden and Trump are guilty of the same things. In particular, the documents. So Biden had documents in his garage, on top of a car, in his house and all of it. And they didn't prosecute him for it. And Trump had the very same thing, but he was prosecuted for it. That is unfair on either side.
No,
if it's a crime, it's a crime.
Cabo, you gotta leave out a very, very serious part of the thing,
Which is?
All right. When them ask Biden and give them it freely, When them ask something, they never give it up. And him have things in there where him start to show people. You hear him.
But if it is what is a crime? Is a crime to remove the documents? Because if my understanding, if there's a crime that these documents are not supposed to leave the security, the space of the White House. If that is a crime, then they're both guilty of the same crime, and then you take it as you go down the road. So, and both are presidents, both of them are.
On the road.
Yes, I know.
Him hold on panties, and him try to get rid of them too. Him try to get rid of some of them.
Like Hillary Clinton destroy her.
No, we're not talking about Hillary Clinton. We're talking about the two men.
No, I know we're talking about the two men, but I'm saying that the Department of Justice has been weaponized again. I'm not. Do not get me wrong, because I am not taking up for Donald Trump. I'm just saying that justice must at least appear to be fair when it comes to them. But they have weaponized the Department of Justice against him. Whereas,
I don't know about that.
What about and it's not Republican, Democrat, because the war against Iraq, for example. Tony Blair in England and George Bush in the United States. That
and
was
Dick Cheney, one.
Yeah.
Dick Cheney, I don't one.
And what's happening now? And look at what's happening now with Blinken and all. These people are criminals. It doesn't matter what side they're on.
Terrible. And we have to see what happening now with Syria and something now. That put another part, like a spike in the Kekri and all, we're going to say, we're going to see what's going to happen now because Turkey, they're around the corner there. I watch them, you know.
As you said, Turkey is the one that broke the deal. Turkey is the one that actually broke this deal between Somalia and Ethiopia. You know. Also, Turkey is the one that led that invasion of Syria. It's very interesting.
Syria, yes. I know them go back to the Pikla again. Them in the Pikla. The Kurds, them and them.
Yes.
Why am I tell you? Is that thing?
The NATO's the head of NATO, I was just seeing it as I was coming in, is warning that we should be getting now into war mode. People are not to sit on their laurels because World War III is already happening. And so that we're supposed to be thinking within the context of war as opposed to peacetime. This is no longer peacetime. It's interesting. Very interesting.
And I want to tell those people that we have been on the brink of World War, of Jamaican war, long time with these politicians out there. So, you know,
Yes,
because they might get them don't realize they're worried about the problem with them youth, they would have gone them, you know, that, and they might get the youth them, you know, them terrible position there, you know.
Yes.
I don't like the parents now look at, it's the people are, all right, we agree say, yeah, parents now deal with them business, you know, but it's the society, it's okay for the parents them to deal with something, food, clothes, and shelter, and carry them, send them to go to school. Them unsought, you know.
It's structural. I agree with you, Muta. I agree with you. It is structural violence. And structural violence, you have violence in the healthcare system. Don't try to be sick. You cannot afford to be sick and you cannot afford to die because you cannot pay for it. So it's structural violence against the people. Structural violence in the education system where the classroom is now a war zone, and we are seeing now where so many...
You can't believe that, Rasta. I mean, I think the picture of a gun, a 7-year-old youth have a big gun at carry at school.
How did this happen? We were always getting to this place, and you're right, I agree with you 100% that the so-called politicians, the so-called leaders, they have abdicated their roles, but we have a role to play in it too, because when we say we mean we the people, I mean, because in
watch out, me, I tried for a long time, you know.
True.
Watch man to the danger and no one the people them. The blood upon him shoulder. I mean, I put the people blood on my shoulder.
I have to warn you, because you know how it works in this space. I have to go for a break, man.
You should have told me 20 to 4.
I should have. I have an interview on this, but Muta.
I tell you, we have a go out.
Safe travel for the high seas.
Yeah, man.
Until we link again.
In a hotel room.
All right. To save travel in the hotel room. Mutabaruka there. We're in for Muta today. We're going through until 5:45.
Lines. Lawmen are probing a major gun and ammunition find at a wharf in Kingston yesterday. Reports are that during routine operations, officers from the Jamaica Customs Agency detected anomalies in shipments being imported from the United States. Examination of the shipment by a joint team comprising Jamaica Customs and the police led to the discovery of multiple firearms and accessories, as well as approximately 2,800 rounds of ammunition. The matter is being investigated by the Firearm and Narcotics Investigations Division of the Constabulary. Jamaica Customs says the seizure is significant as it speaks to the continued thrust to place a dent in organized crime.
Action speaks louder than word. It is what you do. You are not what you say you are. You are what you do. We're watching. They told us when they gave themselves 200% salary increases that they would be doing better. Are you feeling any better? When last have you been to a hospital in Jamaica? How long did you have to wait to just register? How long did your sick, your ill relative, friend, parent have to sit on a chair, a bench, or the ground before them treat them? Do you feel better? Are you feeling any better? How is that going for you? They said they would do better when they gave themselves 200% salary increases. How are you doing? Those who said they wouldn't take the salary increases. What about those who said that they would be giving their salary increases to the people? How are you doing? How are you feeling? Of the Auditor General's report. Jeanette, thank you so much for joining us inside of the Stepping Razor. Thank you so much, my sister.
No problem. I think this is my first time, so it's really good for me to be here. Thanks for having me.
There you go. All right. I'm going to ensure we have a talk with Muta, because here's the situation. Jeanette, give us a background on this $3 trillion, the background to that, because we're hearing from the Minister of Finance, and she said that this is not missing. I know Jamp didn't use the word missing. You said unaccounted for. But first of all, the background.
Well, the background is, I think, the context is who is the Auditor General of Jamaica and what do they do on behalf of the people of Jamaica. I think that has to be made clear before we can appreciate what the findings are. So we all pay taxes and we all want public goods and services. There is no business that can thrive without government doing well. There is no neurosurgeon, no farmer, no teacher, none of us. So the Auditor General steps in after the government has, spent the money that the Parliament, let me back up, the Parliament of Jamaica, KABU, does two things in the context of this conversation. They approve the budget that the different ministries and public bodies recommend and say, we're looking 12 months ahead. What do Jamaicans need for the next 12 months that the government needs to provide? The only reason a government exists is to do what? To attend to the needs of the society, to serve us. So at the end of March 31st of March every year, there's a budget passed, and in that book are all the spending that need to take place everywhere in government for you and I and everybody listening. Now, naturally, just like it is in the private sector, and anybody here who have a big business to a small business, if somebody is spending your money, KABU, don't you have to get a report at the end of that year to tell you what the manager has done with it, and that all is well? And that in the spending of the money, the manager has also followed all the tax laws and all the financial laws of Jamaica. That's unreasonable?
Very reasonable.
So same way, so no matter how small the business or big the business, it's no different for the government of Jamaica. Why? Because the government is not spending their money. They are spending our money. And so we have an auditor that the government, the Parliament of Jamaica created long before we ever had independence. This Auditor General has existed, over 100 years. And what they do is they check the financial reports that every entity comes and says, this is what I spent last year. She looks in the budget to see, is that how much you were to spend? Did you go over? Do I have the receipts, you could call it, for everything you spent? Can I check and see what you bought and where they are? And then once everything is okay, KABU, what do you think she do? She goes back to the same Parliament that approved the budget. She gives that ministry the thumbs up and say, all is well. But if all is not well, if we buy a computer and car and she can't find them, or she can't get the reports so that she can check to see what happened with her money, she has to tell the Parliament of Jamaica that she can't even get those financial records in order to be assured that our money has been spent well and within the law. So that's what discussion is about.
All right.
Are the ministries of government providing the government auditor, the people auditor, with financial reports so that she can tell you if things are missing or if things have gone well? So KABU, in short, if you don't give her those records, she can't tell if things are right or wrong. So JAMP is saying over the last 11 years, there are some ministries in government and some departments in government that have received public funds. We can't tell you that they're missing because until the Auditor General gets the report, she can't verify anything.
Right. So that underscores the point that JAMP is, and I think we need to underscore that point also, is that the point is not that the funds are missing. So what the Minister of Finance is doing amounts to smoke and mirrors. You never said the funds are missing. They are unaccounted for. In other words, we can't tell how you spend the money. If you buy 2 sticks of butter, we don't know if you buy, but the money not there.
Correct, KABU. So that sounds frightening to you still?
It is very frightening. So
that's my point. Exactly. That is, we must be accurate as a people and we must be fair. So we stick to the facts and the truth. They are not missing. But there's one other thing I want to quickly say that the minister has said, which is still important. The minister says, even though the Auditor General has not gotten the annual report, It's not that nobody in government don't know what is happening. The minister's point is that the Ministry of Finance, as is required by law, gets on a monthly basis reports from the different public entities. So the minister is saying, well, the Ministry of Finance, it kind of feel that things are in order. So then what is JAM's problem if the Ministry of Finance is saying that?
Yes, what is JAM's problem?
JAM's problem is that there is only one entity in government that can tell you if things are in order. So yes, the ministry gets those reports, but the ministry is not the auditor. The Ministry of Finance doesn't perform the task of what, for example, I just described to you, where if we spend $15 million buying computers, the ministry doesn't go and check to see where are those computers, are they in operation, or are they sitting down in a warehouse for 2 years, which is an example, a literal example, Kabu, of the things that the Auditor General has found. The ministry doesn't do that. That's not the ministry's job.
So then it doesn't. So the fact that the minister gets a report, the minister is not the one doing the checks and balances. You get the report, and the report going to a file, and it gone. You say that's what you spend. The ministry takes you at your word. Who is responsible for now ensuring that report, what is in that report, is what actually happened?
Correct, that it is factual, that there is no make-up story, that the laws have been followed. The only one department of government does that for us, and that's the Auditor General.
And the Auditor General is saying what?
And the Auditor General is saying, if you have not given me, for example, if the Ministry of Education for 9 years has $902 billion have been allocated, and you haven't come for 9 years and handed over to me your financial report so I can double check and tell Parliament and the people everything is okay, then all is not in order. And I cannot give the people the reassurance that all that has happened in the Ministry of Education for 9 years, I cannot tell them that all is well.
Which ministries are we talking about here, and how much unaccounted for in those ministries?
All right, we are talking about, I admit you caught me on the road, Kabu. So I'm going to go off memory.
I have your document, so do you want me to read it through?
So yes, fine, that would be great if you have it.
So the Ministry of Education, $902 billion with a B, unaccounted for. The Ministry of Health, $695 billion, unaccounted for. The Ministry of Labor and Social Security, $53.4 billion, unaccounted for.
Can you stick a pin right there for me, Kabu?
Yes.
Because I want to make a very important point. Those three ministries, and you're reading out the three that, are very significant, outstanding in terms of years of waiting. Those are what we call the social sectors of Jamaica, meaning these are the three ministries that really looking out for us. Education gets the largest share of the budget after we pay our debt. Then health, and labor and social security takes care of who, Kabu? The vulnerable in our society.
Of course.
The pensioners, the disabled, and the poor.
Yes.
So you are looking at the three top offenders, are the three ministries. If they have to get it right to help the people of Jamaica, those would be the three ministries. Go ahead.
And yet unaccounted for. I know we're coming up on a break, and it's going to be a longish break, but I'm going to ask you either to hold or to hang up and we come back. It's a little longish break, but let me go through. All right. So the Ministry of Finance, $111.3 billion unaccounted for. The Office of the Prime Minister, $12.02 billion unaccounted for. The Parliament, $6 billion. The Forestry Department, $8.6 billion. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, $152 billion. The Department of Correctional Services, $36.9 billion. And the municipal corporations, $10 billion. It's frightening, Jeanette.
I agree with you. And what is also, I know you're running to the break, but I'll leave your listeners with this. What is even more frightening is that every single year, the Auditor General has told our parliamentarians what you just heard as frightening. We expect our parliamentarians on both sides of the fence to be frightened enough to do their job. This has continued to happen to a large extent because the Parliament of Jamaica is not properly monitoring government and not holding government to account. And that is also frightening.
Let us leave it there. We have a longish break. I'm not quite sure what our producer told you to do. But if you can hold, it's going to be about 8 minutes or so, or you can hang up.
They can call me back.
All right, so we'll call you right
rather than.
Thank you
yes,
so much.
Thanks
yes.
much.
So what you get?
The new Popeye's Black and Chicken song.
Continue our discussion with the founder, executive director of the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, Jeanette Calder. Interesting information coming out. And Jeanette, just the responses so far from listeners. I mean, my phone is literally blowing up because people are beginning to understand. Yeah, people are beginning to understand. One of the questions coming in, though, before we continue the conversation is, what's the difference then between unaccounted for and missing?
All right, I'm going to give you a very practical example, Kabu, because one of the things I had mentioned in passing is that when government receives the money, they have to buy assets, things to make them function. And there are rules in government, as you would imagine, that you have to record when you bought it, what the value was, and who you assign it to.
Yes.
Kabu, you ever walk into government and see what look like graffiti on everything, what do the desk and chair and numbers?
Yes.
You ever noticed it?
Yes, of course.
Right, that is how the Auditor General checks them. I don't like it. It looks like graffiti. But what they are ensuring is that whatever is bought can be traced.
Yeah.
So, for example, I'm looking here at the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, a report from the Auditor General that says, this is to answer your question, I'm not deviating.
Yes.
An audit report, this was her 2020 annual report to Parliament. And she's talking about an audit she did in September 2018. And it says, the audit found that purchases of fixed assets, and as I said, computers, cars, chairs, whatever, valued at approximately 20 million were not recorded. They never write it down in the register what them used the $20 million to buy. So if it's not recorded and the Auditor General can't tell exactly what you bought, she can't say it is missing. Would you agree?
Agreed.
Exactly. So that is the analogy.
So there's
it's
also
it's the same principle, Kabu, as the money. If you do not give me a report of what you have done with the money, I can't say that the money was stolen or missing. And let's be reasonable with the government. Are we getting police services? Do we see the doctors and nurses being paid? Yes, there's a problem right now. Have teachers been paid for the last 9 years? Of course. So if I say to you that the 902 billion that was allocated to education over 9 years is not missing, you can't believe that. Because what? Government been running school, Kabu, so they must have been spending the money. No, so?
No.
Yeah, man. They are spending the money. They have not run off with 902 billion.
No, I'm not saying all of it. I'm not saying all of it, but I'm saying look at the condition that our schools are in.
But hold on. That's the first place we have to begin if we're going to be fair. The word out there is that the 3 trillion is missing. The 3 trillion represents all of the money of those 10 entities, which is why I want to start, because we are getting services. Now, the question is, has some of it gone missing? But those of us who have read the newspaper article on the media's coverage of our conference, you will see the analogy that I have. If I am in my office, Kabu, and I have 10 roll of toilet paper in the bathroom, if 2 missing, I can see that?
Yes.
But if I have 1,000 in the pantry, in the storage, and 2 missing, can I see that?
And it's a very good example because I used to work in a government place and I know how the tissue them used to go.
Tissue and paper and all manner things.
And
but
soap and all of
tell
that.
You
yes.
That bigger things than that have disappeared. There's an audit report that I still am shocked at where 443 computers disappeared. Nobody called the police. Nobody told the Auditor General, and those are things that you shouldn't have to tell anybody. So these things really do disappear, Kabu. What I'm saying is, if you get a whopping amount of money and $2 billion is missing. It might be harder to find that if it's 100 and something billion you're getting. It's only the Auditor General. What I'm saying is you can't see that easily because services are being received. I think it's a simple point I'm trying to make, Kabu.
Yes, and the point is well made.
3 trillion. Yeah, man, the 3 trillion is not gone, but it is true to say smaller amounts could be missing, but until the Auditor General gets these reports, she can't tell you.
And this is why we have to get rid of the semantics, because this relates to all of us. This is a national crisis, and I think that we should all step back from this, stop throwing blame at each other, and to say, but if this is what is coming out of the Auditor General, JAMP is a credible organization, then let us listen and try and see how we can best fix it.
Yeah.
How comfortable or how satisfied are you with the minister's response?
Well, I can't honestly say that I'm satisfied, because I am happy that the minister came out and reminded even JAMP, because I can't say I had remembered. And it is true that these monthly reports and cash flow reports go to the Ministry of Finance. So
watch out, vehicle on shoulder ahead.
Nothing is happening. That was a very good reminder. But I think that the minister would agree with me that, well, I hope she would, that when she said to Jamaica yesterday, all is in order, I don't think that's an accurate statement, because the only entity that can actually say that, Kabu, is the person who audits, meaning the person who checks to make sure that all is in order. And who does that? The Auditor General. So the Ministry of Finance is not empowered, enabled, or authorized to determine if things are in order. Let me explain what order means. Here is how much money you got. Did you spend more than you did? Here are the laws that the Parliament set for how you spend the people money. Did you respect the laws? Now, Kabu, I'm going to make what I hope is an important point here. While the Auditor General has not received from the ministries and from departments their financial statements, she's not sitting down there twiddling her thumbs, crying in her soup and saying, oh my, nobody remembers me. She has the authority in law to walk into any office and make some demands and do some audits. So even while over the last 11 years, she's not getting what we call the official financial records for a year, she's auditing. Now, I'm going to share with you, using one ministry, in the interest of time, some of the findings that she has brought back to the Parliament to demonstrate why I say the minister's statement that all is in order is really, not accurate. Let me just give you 5 examples. Using the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, just one example per year going back 5 years. We'll take a minute.
Go ahead.
2023, National Insurance Scheme. This is what takes care of pensioners, And the National Insurance Scheme is under the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. It says here, despite being the subject of previous audits, the National Insurance Scheme has not accounted for outstanding employer contributions in their financial statements, meaning when I look at some of these statements, there are some employer contributions outstanding. Remember what NIS is. Your employer have to contribute to your future pension, and you have to do it. Remember, Kabu?
Yes.
So, if the NIS has to get from every employee and the employer, the Auditor General is saying, but I am not seeing where there are collections here from the employer's contributions. What is the value that you can't find? $6 billion. Hold on to that for a second. And that should be of concern for people who want pension and might not be able to get it because the contributions weren't turned over. I said to myself, what else is happening in the ministry? Here is another example. Despite previous audit reports, it says again here, the ministry operated contrary to government guidelines when it exceeded the budget called Object 21. Kabu, you know what Object 21 in budget language is?
What is it?
Salaries at the Ministry of Labour. Now, hear me at some point in time. If you give a ministry 100 million, they will come back and say, boy, I spend 100 million in our parliament. But the Ministry of Finance realized that they will take some money, maybe from rent if they save it, or some other project that never happened, and add it to salaries. You follow me?
I'm following you closely. We have a little problem here. Let me just, and it's some matters we have to do in-house, which is to take another break. And it is
no, that's all right, man.
And it is a longish break again. So,
all right.
So my apologies.
By the side of the road, and I'll wait for you.
All right, please. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All righty.
My name is Kabu. I'm in for Muta, and we're in the final 10 minutes with my sister Jeanette Calder. You know, it's interesting because we do have a very, very active ad program today, and so the interview is getting interrupted like this. But thank you so much, Jeanette, for your patience. And what I want to do is just to give you this, because we have 10 minutes, and I know that you're going through, you're itemizing for us, giving us an example of what happened in terms of the work of the Auditor General. That's where we left off. And so I want you to pick up from there, and I'll give you as much time as possible without interrupting so we can wrap this up in time. Yes.
Well, I'll just give you two more examples. Where we were is I was sharing that there was a practice among some entities, not all, in the past, where if government, as you know, happens sometime, Kabu, them announce a project and the project not really come off this year, but you did get the money allocated, right? So the law said, well, what used to happen is sometimes when there's extra money, the permanent secretaries might move funds from one area of the budget and put it to salaries, give people more pay. The ministry said, no, you can't do that. That's not what we approved. So the ministry put it in the law or in the regulations that if you are going to move money from one part of your budget, let's say to a project, to go pay people more salary, you cannot do it without the Minister of Finance's approval. So here we have an example where in Ministry of Labour and Social Security, the Auditor General is saying that despite previous audit reports, what she's saying there is, I've been saying this and talking about this ministry for a while now, they are saying that there are 19 occasions when the ministry exceeded its budget on salaries because it moved money, 75 million, from one area of the budget into salary. That is not allowed.
Okay.
So I'll give you one last example. I can put my hands on it because I find this one to be interesting, but it basically is tied into, for example, what we were talking about before. Let us say there's a project that government announced. Here it is. In 2019, not so long ago. This is just an example. She has here in a previous audit report, PATH. Every Jamaican listening know about PATH and how it's important. Right, Kabu?
True.
PATH was advised that at the end of all the projects, any unspent money has to go back to what? What you call it, the government bank account. You can't keep it, Kabu, and say, boy, we're going to spend it next year on the same path. No. The Ministry of Finance and the law say, whatever left over in this financial year, you have to give it back. Tell us you need it, and the ministry will give it back to you. Well, what the Auditor General said here is in December 2019, PATH did not surrender 172 million that was not spent on the social protection project as required by law. So I'll go and close off this part by saying, Cabo, the last time I check, all of the taximen I listen to you, if them not follow the road traffic act, what happened to them?
Exactly.
There
are consequences for action. There are consequences for action.
Absolutely. And we're talking here about laws that are being broken, and these laws are put in place, Cabo, to protect our assets, to protect our money in order to protect our future. So that is why I'm not totally satisfied with what was said at the post-cabinet press briefing.
Okay, all right. So what is JAMP asking for now? What would you like to see going
Well, we know that what we are sharing with the public is not new. These reports are required to go to the parliament, and they go there. The committee that is responsible, Cabo, you see it in the news all the time. Your listeners have heard of the Public Accounts Committee. This is PNP, JLP, both sides of the house, sitting down and reviewing these reports, supposed to hold them to account. It's clearly not happening. So JAMP has started, I'll send a letter to your Parliament and MP campaign. And there's an ad in the newspaper, section A, where you can see where to go. But just so that you know, you go to our website, www.jampja.org.
Yes.
Go to what we do. You will see Citizens Campaign. You will find it after that. And what is that asking? It is saying to the people whose salaries we doubled last year, don't forget that, Kabu, that it is their job to hold government to account. So we want three things. Tell us how this happened and continued for 11 years when we are paying you to deal with it. Tell us, Parliament, how you are going to hold government to account. And we don't want announcements. We want a plan of action with timelines so the people can follow it and track it. And last, Kabu, we want to know how you're going to hold the public officials to account that are responsible for this, what I consider to be a betrayal of the people's trust. Three things.
So everyone who's listening now, wondering, what can I do? Outraged about this, concerned about this, you can get actively involved in impacting the situation, changing it for the better, which is to say, go to the JAMP website, which is www.jampja.org. Yes, and then what again? Repeat for me, please, Jeanette.
Then you go to, at the menu, it says, what do we do? Because what we're doing is we're getting in touch with Parliament. So go to what do we do? When you touch that, you see a drop down, you see citizens campaigns. Click the first one you see, and you will know what to do from there. What it will do, which is a very powerful thing, Kabu, it asks your MP, what are you going to do about this, MP? Because I'm paying you to fix this. But once you do that, whether or not your MP pay you any mind, a copy of your letter goes to the Parliament on the record, so the Parliament can see how many Jamaicans are saying this cannot continue.
Okay. All right. So I'm on it now, Jeanette, and I'm going down the page. Why am I not seeing Citizens Campaign?
Did you go to what do we do?
What do we do? I click on that and then says
drop down?
It says JAMP accountability meter, JAMP at work, that, and then monitoring tools, national budget tool.
No man, Kabu. When you go to the website, there's a menu at the top. Who we are, what we do. Click on what we do. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Okay. Yeah. So click on what we do. Yeah, that link is there. And
when that drops down, just look down. You're going to Citizens Campaign.
All right. So there you go. This is basically what we need to do from now. Because we can talk about this, we can be outraged, we can talk about in the taxes on the road, but what do we do? How do we make a difference?
Let me close with this, Kabu.
Yes.
They work for us. When you vote for an MP, it's a work. When they knock on your gate, it's a job they're asking for. They work for you. So when your employees haven't done their job, you don't have to get in touch with them.
That's right.
So if we don't start talking to the Parliament directly, then we are part of the problem, which is why I think this letter is a powerful. The employers, which we are, standing up and saying to the employees, do your job.
All right. That is it. Thank you so much, Jeanette.
It was a pleasure. I hope that helped to clear things up today.
Very much so. Big help. Thank you so much. All right. So that's Jeanette Calder, the Ratigan attorney at law and a former FBI agent, a premier high-achieving and experienced former federal law enforcement manager, and hardly need any more introduction. He is well known in the space and in Jamaica. Mr. Wilfred Ratigan, thank you so much for joining us inside of the Stepping Razor. Again, welcome.
Not a problem. Glad to be here. Always a pleasure.
Good to have you. So here we are again. We have to put things in context. I know why you laugh. We have to put things in context. Or should I read this now? Vivian, your friend just walked in, so I have to, and handed me something. Should I read this now? All right. Okay, so last time we spoke, it was about the Integrity Commission report. We both had gone through it with a fine-tooth comb. And people might be confused as to whether or not this is a separate integrity report or it's an addendum to the first one that come out. But basically what we have here is the Integrity Commission once again putting out a report suggesting impropriety on the part of company or companies related to the Prime Minister, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a separate report? Is this a whole different separate thing?
Yes, it's something completely separate. This one, the first one had to do is statutory declaration. And by the way, good afternoon to your listening audience and your staff and to you.
Yes,
so the first one had to do with the statutory declaration. This one had to do with somebody making a complaint or snitching to the Integrity Commission, saying that the Prime Minister owned a piece of property and that construction was being carried out not in compliance with permits issued by KSAMC, and that blueprints were sent to the KSAMC office. One set of blueprints, and then another set was given to the contractor. That was the basis of the investigation. So it's two separate investigations.
Two separate investigations.
Yes.
You have gone through this second report.
Yes.
What is the Integrity Commission saying in a process summary? Summarize for us. What is the Integrity Commission?
What the Integrity Commission is saying, and they didn't go far enough, I might add. Yes. What they're saying is that that permits were issued for the building of apartments or townhomes, 2 bedrooms, four townhomes in 2 buildings, and each townhome was supposed to have 2 bedrooms. And when the Integrity Commission did a check, they found that each apartment had 4 bedrooms, which was in violation of the permit, permits issued. And they interviewed the contractor. They interviewed 2 of the 3 directors. One of whom is the Prime Minister's sister. The other is his partner, his business partner. His son is also interestingly, he's also a partner in that company called Estate Bridge, but they didn't interview him. So what they did at the very end, they said, listen, there was a clear violation here. There was a willful violation. There was an intentional violation. And so their recommendation was to the KSAMC to take action, and also to the Prime Minister to assist with the enactment of legislation to tighten up the laws governing permits, and also to increase penalties for people who willfully violate. This had nothing to do with if you're in the Prime Minister come up and jump up like Bunny Rabbit and say, "Oh, I'm being targeted." Kabo, that's nonsense.
Well, let us talk about that, because we have to take everything into consideration. So the Prime Minister, on the back of this report coming out from the Integrity Commission, has said this feels as if I'm being targeted. A lot of people can identify with that, because we just had one that, we spent so much time on and then just dropped it. But here we are again with another one. So the Prime Minister saying that he's been targeted. Is there any basis on which a Prime Minister can say, as far as you have seen going through the report as an attorney at law, former FBI agent, is there any basis for the response of the Prime Minister to the report that he, the Prime Minister, is being targeted?
Just one thing he didn't say, Kabo, he didn't say unfairly targeted. There's nothing wrong with targeting someone if there's evidence to believe that the person is involved in some prohibited or unlawful activity. There's nothing wrong with that.
Are you saying that the Integrity Commission, I know you can't speak for them, but from reading the report, are you suggesting that probably they think the Prime Minister is involved in prohibitive activities?
No, the basis of the complaint upon which they acted was that he was involved, right?
Okay.
So they got that, saying that property that he owned, construction was going on in violation of issued permits. So they have to look into it.
Are you also saying that there is no basis for the Prime Minister's response, that I'm being targeted?
Exactly, and I'll tell you why.
Yes.
Because at the time that the permits were issued, and I stand 100% behind this statement I'm making now, at the time the permits were issued and at the time the construction began, the Prime Minister had a business interest in Estate Bridge.
Okay, when from your investigations, sorry, say that again?
Through his company called Imperium, which he's the only person in that company.
All right, so Imperium came up before. Okay, so break that down for us. When were the permits issued?
I'll give me 1 second here because I have the report in front of me.
Okay.
The Prime Minister, right, here's what happened. The Prime Minister had a company called ADMAT, and I'll just breeze through it. He had a company called ADMAT in St. Lucia. We won't go into the reasons why he dissolved that company, but it was dissolved, and then he brought it. He took all the assets of ADMAT and he put it into a company called Imperium. Now, keep in mind that ADMAT owned a property in Jamaica, and all of that went into the company called Imperium. Then there's another company called Estate Bridge, which is a company that through which the development was done in Beverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
At the time that the permits were issued, the Prime Minister, through his company Imperium, because he didn't do it in his personal capacity, like he said, Andrew Holness is putting, X amount of dollars in there. He did it through Imperium. And keep in mind that Imperium was completely owned by the Prime Minister. Nobody and him, never another company there. It's him alone.
Yes.
Right? And at the time when they formed that company, he was a majority shareholder. He had 5,001 shares.
Yeah.
He transferred some of those shares in January 2021. He transferred 1,000. And then in October of 2022, he transferred 4,001. Right?
Mm-hmm.
When he transferred, before he transferred 4,001, while he was still the majority shareholder, the permits were issued to Estate Bridge to develop the land, and also construction had begun. Give me 1 second. I'll just tell you. I know time
because
is
why this has to be quick. So I see what has happened to our colleagues at the RJR group, that they have had to gone out ahead and apologize to the Prime Minister for comment. Why?
Because they missed. There's one word they should have put there, and it would have escaped all of this nonsense. If they had said, property owned by the Prime Minister. If they had put property previously owned by the Prime Minister, because presently he's not involved in it. At least on paper, he's not involved in it. So when the Prime Minister said, "Look, I'm not a director, I'm not an owner," when he's saying that now, he's absolutely correct. But the question should be asked, Mr. Prime Minister, when the permits were issued, did you have a business interest in this development? And the answer would be yes.
Well,
and they said, Mr. Prime Minister, when the construction started, sir, did you have an interest in it? The answer would be yes.
And you're saying this based on the time between when the permits were issued and the time that the investigations were done.
Right. They gave them, and the permits were issued on July 12, 2021. Now remember, he didn't give away shares until October 2020. I think it's October 2022.
That is in the report.
That is in the report.
All right. So the Prime Minister has to answer that question. For me, I always talk about the optics. All right. So, but this goes beyond the optics. But I really wanted to get an idea as to why the Prime Minister has come out to say that I am being targeted, because that's an emotional response, as opposed to, to say objectively what happened. And that would have been easy. He owes the nation that.
Pablo, I'm a firm critic of the Integrity Commission. I applaud them when they need to applaud.
So am I, as you know very well, yes.
Yeah, and what happened here is that if I were in charge of the Integrity Commission, I would have interviewed him. They did not interview him. I would want to hear him talk about what were the circumstances that led to the issuance of the permit, and when the building started, what was his perception of what was supposed to be built. I would have asked him, and I would have also asked his son, who was who's a shareholder. His son is a shareholder and also a director. I would have asked his son is 21 years of age now. But I would have asked him, young man, what was because you're a board member, I know, so you have to know where I'm going. Mm-hmm. As only 3 board members, the son, the auntie, and a friend.
Yes.
Right? I would have said to him, so when they start this massive development, this expensive development, and you're a board member, you're also a shareholder, what did you know about this? I make him come and tell me, say, no, nothing.
But
you
also,
know what you could have laid that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I also hear, though, from the company Estate Bridge, and correct me if I'm wrong, their response is interesting, because they're saying what the Integrity Commission is accusing them of, that is not true. That is outside of, which is the type of breaching the license or the permission or the permit. This is my understanding, and this is what I'm saying. Did you hear that? Are you picking that up, or this is just me misunderstanding the whole thing?
No, whether them say it or that is your perception, it's incorrect. And I'll tell you why. Because they interviewed Norman Brown, who's also a shareholder and is also a board member. And when they interviewed him early this year concerning the Prime Minister's statutory declaration investigation, right? And they asked him about this piece of property, you know. And when they asked him, he said that it was supposed to be 4 townhomes, each townhome having 4 bedrooms. And he did that in writing. And they interviewed him recently, a few months ago. I think it was in October they interviewed him again. And when they presented the statement to him, they asked him first, and he said, it's supposed to be 4 townhomes, 2 bedrooms each. And they said, okay, earlier you said 4 bedrooms, 4 townhomes, 4 bedrooms each. Here's your statement. What do you say now? And them choke him. Him start come up with all kind of fool and start talk about, it should have said 4 bedrooms. My earlier statement should have said 4 townhomes, 2 bedrooms each. Because the question is, are you lying now, Mr. Brown? Are you lying now, or did you lie then? Because your answers are different. Your answers concerning this particular subject and the questions asked of you, we elicited 2 different responses, and they cannot be both true at the same time. Cannot.
Right. Okay, so with the limited time we have, so putting on your attorney at law hat, your FBI agent hat, what exactly is happening here, and how do you see this panning out?
Well, what happened is that the Integrity Commission, they didn't interview the Prime Minister, didn't interview his son. They should have. Now what they've done is they referred it to KSAMC to say, look, you need to tighten up, and they referred it to the Prime Minister, and they're asking him to try to enact legislation. The same thing they did with the Barnett case, the man who get the permit to build 12 one-bedroom, and he built 6 two-bedrooms and 6 three-bedroom apartments, right? And what did they do in that case? The Integrity Commission went to the corruption prosecutor for prosecution of the matter. She said no. Then they went to the DPP, and the DPP referred them to the KSAMC. So that's why in this case they went back, and the referral to the Prime Minister is the exact referral that they made in the Barnett case. They said, please help us and just help Jamaica and just come through with some laws to protect the environment and protect this and protect that. No, you know what was interesting in that case, Kabu? In the Barnett case, right? Remember now, in the Barnett case, they went to the corruption prosecutor. She said no. Then they went to the DPP, and she said no.
Good. Is what displaying you as a court now? You leave something playing as well?
No, I hear one. That one there for hear one. Yes, I hear one.
Or if it be my own, I never put nothing in that.
No, man, hear one was always there. My one out.
We're going to check that thing there.
Yeah,
that's a bit.
I soon double check it.
Right, we're going to check and say who is on the turntable.
Yeah.
Right. Mikey.
Yes.
TikTok. I heard that story in the music news.
Yes.
With what's happening with TikTok in Canada. Obviously, we see what's coming out of the United States.
Absolutely.
So what's the final thing with the US? Do you know what's the final?
Well, US they've given a January date to say effective that date it will be banned. I mean, there are still things on the table. In the US as it relates to TikTokers, and it's not surprised that we see Canada being involved. As you know, Canada and the US, is like, domino effect as it relates to.
Well, Donald Trump just says it's the 51st state of the US. That's what it's. And and Justin Trudeau is the governor of Canada.
There you go. So yep. You don't have to question Canada's action as it relates to it.
Suit.
Yeah, this was just 7 days ago that they had, filed, as it relates to having the government wanting them to not be a part of the whole thing, and the judicial review wanted to be involved as it relates to the federal court in Vancouver.
But I also heard you said, correct me if I'm wrong, that Canadians will still be able to access TikTok.
Yeah. Well, currently they're still accessing it. Not sure what will happen, as it relates to when the final decision. But for now, everything remains the same. And I gather they're not looking at the January date as in what's happening over there in the U.S. But I wouldn't be surprised if later after that things might just happen to be the same.
Yeah, TikTok really giving legacy media, mainstream media, a serious competition.
Absolutely.
We've been watching the social media for a very long time.
Absolutely.
TikTok is the first one.
Yeah.
That still has the potential to totally decimate legacy media, unless legacy media gets involved.
You're right. We've seen, even more recently, this is just getting even wider and wider, and more persons in different territories. And like they said, they have also, moved their location to Singapore. And, they're operating out of Singapore, as it relates to, their platform, the headquarters, since 2020.
And not China. Yeah. Because that is the thing, isn't it? That they're saying that it is.
Yeah, because when you go, checking deeply with really what's happening, it's just because of the fact that China created the app. The app was created in China, and as we understand, the US-China
relationship. Although I don't know if you saw the breaking news today, it is the mainstream media reporting that Donald Trump has invited Xi Jinping, who is the president of China, to his inauguration. Whether or not he'll accept that invitation is another thing.
That's interesting.
Very interesting, isn't it? Considering the narrative, and especially with what's happening now with TikTok.
Yes.
So how you see this playing out? Because one of the things that I have done in every space that I am at is to say Jamaican TikTok needs regulation.
I was just about to make mention of what's happening in Jamaica as it relates to TikTok, because we have seen so many incidents and, as it relates to even crime and, several things happening.
People being killed on live.
You're seeing it in action, then, no persons are no longer, I don't know. Ever since it got monetized in Jamaica, especially, I realized that, there's an increase in certain kind of behavior and certain kind of persons being just using the platform, I believe, the wrong way.
Yes, Jamaican TikTok is unique in that there's no other country that's doing what Jamaica is doing, which is they've made TikTok into a war zone.
Yes.
It is when me cuss my friend. Well, not my friend. This is a cast gangster. I cuss you till you're dead and we get some gifts for it and we get some money for it.
Yeah.
And we take the cussing from the virtual space into the reality. And begin to kill each other. This is serious for me.
Yes, because persons are now seeing altercations that they saw it brewing from TikTok.
Yes.
Before it became a murder, for example. So we're seeing where, and everybody's on TikTok, as it relates to age groups and so on.
Yes.
Not quite sure if they will do anything regarding to that as it relates to US or even Canada regarding to the age group. I know, this is a situation.
Well, Australia has done something.
Australia has recently done something as it relates to, social media by extension in general. And I thought that was a good move.
Very good move.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we can take such a stringent step, but I think we need to do exactly what Australia has done in our spaces. I was talking to Dutty Berry last night about this very same thing, and he also agrees that he's a YouTuber and TikToker from the very longest time,
right? Because
we have a national crisis, wouldn't you say, with TikTok?
I believe it's now becoming that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely say that. The last, recently between, especially this last quarter, we've seen an emerge in terms of, persons, as it relates, even with social media and the violence
and crime,
all of these things and so on,
and just straight wickedness, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's something of concern. I'm watching to see, what the authorities will do as it relates to that matter.
Something has to be done, though, Maki.
Definitely,
something has to be done, and quickly. We talk about crime and violence in Jamaica, but if you're on TikTok, you have a very good idea of how a lot of this start.
Yes.
And where it and how it is going to play out, because the gangster them depend on TikTok deep. You know what I like about TikTok, though, the positive side. One of the positive sides for me.
Tell me.
Is that when something is happening, these TikTokers are very serious. These content creators, they'll have their phones out there on the scene of the crime or the scene of the event.
And go live.
From beginning to end. And this, I think, is brilliant. For me, it is citizen journalism. and it is working. It works for me. I follow all of them. And I watch all of these lives, and this is how I keep informed about, just happenings across Jamaica. But another thing that I noticed, the last one we were watching in Clarendon, it was a Clarendon where the
murder,
the intruders barricaded themselves inside of the establishment. They're the Chinese.
Got you. Yeah.
They went live,
So I saw something, just. As a matter of fact, earlier on today, as it relates to somebody stealing, a group of men trying to steal a motor vehicle. Yeah. And there was somebody who saw, what was happening and decided to go on TikTok to do the video. Yes. But then there are a lot of persons also that were commenting and saying that, the same phone that you're using to actually video what's happening is the same phone you would use to call the police as well. So then there was
the police must monitor TikTok.
There was a little bit of mixture.
I understand the sentiment.
There you go.
But if you see,
so they're videoing it because they don't want the person to see them videoing it, or So they're videoing. Everybody's seeing what they're doing.
Yes.
They're blocking the car. They're moving parts of the other vehicle so that they can't get in. But other persons are commenting, "Where's the phone to call?"
The police. But you don't know if they're not calling the police yet. But I really do. I mean, scenes of crime, scenes of accidents. Even a criminal know to go live, because those criminals that barricaded themselves in the Chinese, the establishment in Clarendon last week, they went live. And a lot of people are saying that they went live because they didn't want to be killed. So, when the police break down the door and going on them, you see the brethren turn to the camera and say, Officer, we're live, we're live. We're live. To me, all of that is interesting, right?
You see, what happened now is that even an altercation right now, a simple one. I mean, even as it relates to even being out in the streets and being approached by a police officer, everybody goes live on TikTok. I mean, that seems to be the new thing to do right now as it relates to.
It works for me, that works for me.
Yeah, well, it's for most cases, because I honestly don't necessarily like the how they are being approached, being videoed, and so oftentimes it gets a little bit offensive from both parties.
And so there's a balance to it in that, and we spoke about that, where there's a negative side to this, but there's also positivity when it comes to citizen journalism.
Yes, absolutely.
They are the ones out there with their phones. They're the ones who are in the communities. They're the ones who can bring you the information immediately. And sometimes, we usually say we have to verify, but they're right on the scene.
Yeah.
And the pictures are coming to you live, and they're doing their commentary to you.
Absolutely.
In between
Yeah, absolutely. So there's only one thing to it. I mean, persons tend to usually want to, so you don't get the starting of what really started the whole thing, but you'll get during.
Yes.
So oftentimes that's the only situation where.
The other day I watched a press conference with the Prime Minister, right? Giving the press conference in the rain, and I was watching some random person TikTok live and he wasn't even. It's not like him a credited journalist, and him saying, "Prime Minister, talk louder, man. We not hear the people on the live now hear you." But I was watching him too.
Yeah.
To hear exactly what the Prime Minister was saying. I was good with it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we're just in this time right now that, we have these different platforms, and if we want to be up to par, persons are watching stage shows on TikTok now.
Yeah, man.
Persons are just.
So it has good and it's good and it's bad, but we need to regulate it in Jamaica.
Absolutely.
Regulate it.
And where things are right now as it relates to the crime and the violence, we need to jump and rectify that situation.
I agree with you 100%. Thank you as usual, Makika. You can see now it is 4:59 and it is time for the top draw dollars, pick 2, pick 3, pick 4, hard pick, and the cash pot draws. Oops, that's loud. Coming up right now. Is there something that you're handing? That's you, right? Totally not me. All right, 4:59, we're standing by for the cash. What's happening here? Goodness gracious me. So it's not you? I don't have any idea what that is. I'm just having a conversation. We're ad-libbing right into now. That Agenda 2030. You will own nothing, you will want nothing, you will be in charge of nothing, and you will feel happy. Let me